Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Entrepreneur's Edge. This is a conference where six leaders from across disciplines came together to give back to help entrepreneurs across the globe. Please welcome David Alto, who's going to present to us how to grow your brand on LinkedIn. Maria Malik will join us shortly, and she will go over public speaking. Tracy Clark and Jill Zahan, that will be the second session from 12 to 1, and they will go over leading self and leading teams for high performance. Me and David Wolf will go over entrepreneurship and growing businesses from 1 to 2 o'clock. Before we start, I would love to know where everyone is connecting from and whether you are watching us live or on the recorded session. Be assured, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat and we'll go over as many as possible. And with that, we're going to get started with David Alto. But before that, say hi to our leaders from across the globe, from Washington State, from London, and from Toronto and Florida. So they took their time from their busy schedule because they believe that giving works. So you can help us by sharing this event, by tagging a friend, and by interacting for greater visibility so we can help as many people as possible. And with that, we're going to start with our first speaker, David Alto. So we're going to remove Jill's and Tracy, and we're going to share with David Alto. So David is the go-to person when it comes to LinkedIn, all things LinkedIn, personal branding, growth, visibility. He's the owner of Alto Advance, which is a consulting and a business consultancy company. He trains HR and marketing and CEOs about job seeking, how to position themselves and their organizations on LinkedIn, which is very important for business owners, for entrepreneurs, and professionals alike. He also creates resumes that pass the bots, so you have a higher chance of getting that call and that attention from recruiters. David, take it away.
All right. Hey, thank you for that introduction there. So I appreciate that. And thank you for inviting me today. It looks like we have currently over 30 people watching us live. So let me share my screen with everybody because I want this to be very interactive, and I want everybody to be able, let me make sure. All right, we can see my screen there. Okay. All right. So I have a question for everybody. Do you want to learn the true power of LinkedIn? If you do, make sure to put that in the comments. I'm looking at our live feed right now. So do you want to learn the true power of LinkedIn? And I'll assume the answer is yes. So currently there are over 900 million people on LinkedIn. How do I know that? Well, I can prove it to you. So let me go here. Let me go to people. And as you can see, over 900 million people on LinkedIn. So more importantly, how do you know if your profile is really strong? It's not necessarily the number of first degree connections or followers you have. So let me explain. And let me go back to my profile as an example. So currently, I have about 111,000 followers. And how many connections do I have? Well, I have about 28,000. You do max out at 30,000. You can't have any more. You can have unlimited followers. But so I often have clients that ask me, David, are you connected with anybody at XYZ company? I'm really trying to get my foot in the door in that company. Okay. And maybe I don't have any first degree connections that work there. So, but it's safe to say I might have somebody that knows somebody that works there. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is I want you to see LinkedIn a little bit differently. So Second degree connections. First degree, in case you don't know, first degree connections means you're connected to somebody on LinkedIn. Third degree means you're not connected to them and you have no mutual connections. Second degree connection, still so valuable, means that you have a mutual connection. So can anybody take a guess on how many second degree connections I might have? And guess what? I want you to put that number in the comments. Just maybe take a wild guess. Well, we're not going to take too long with this. So, and you can check to see how many second degree connections you have. And I'd love for you to share the number in the comments. And how do you find that? If you click inside the search bar and then you click on people, just like we shared how many people there are on LinkedIn, if I go to connections, Harvey has 2 million second degree connections. Harvey, you're awesome. Second degree connections, and hit show results. I have just over 4 million second degree connections. So sometimes it's not about who you know, but maybe you have a connection that has a connection that can help you, or vice versa. When you treat LinkedIn like a database of over 900 million people, just like we saw, you're going to look and use LinkedIn totally just differently. So let's talk about content and going viral. So you might hear people say you don't need to go viral on LinkedIn, right? To be seen as a subject matter expert in your industry. And that might be true to an extent, but let's say only a handful of people are seeing your content daily on LinkedIn, regardless of how many times a day or a week you post. But let's say only a handful of people, and maybe it's peers, some friends or relatives, or your mother is seeing your content on LinkedIn. You're not getting much engagement. So let's talk about something about going viral. And I'm going to share some things and prove it to you here in a second. So going viral could mean anything. Could mean getting 10,000 views for the very first time. It could mean getting 100,000 or even 1 million plus views. So when content goes viral, you get more second and third degree connections to see your content. And that means that people that have never seen your content before are going to be exposed to you, head to your profile. So, and now here's the proof. And hey, I'm looking at some of the, Nadia, I'm looking at some of the comments, 100,000 second degree followers, 500,000. So I'm going to share in a minute why that's more important as well, too, especially if you're a job seeker. But here's the proof about going viral. Back in January of 2022, I met somebody at a LinkedIn kind of networking group that I was a part of. And when I met this person, they only had about 5,000 followers or so. And after this person shared a story of a time in her life, it was an amazing story. It went super viral. I mean, tens of millions of views. This person went from about 5,000 followers to 50,000, 100,000. To date, I think they have about 180 some thousand followers on LinkedIn. And I know it took her weeks to go through all the comments and DMs. Her DMs exploded. So many doors opened up for this person with this one post. She captured new business, new influence, and thousands of comments. So hopefully this person won't mind me sharing this, but here's the proof. So Maria, our next speaker, is the person that I'm talking about. Only had about 5,000 followers in January of 2022. With this one post, and I encourage everybody to connect with Maria and take a look at this post. But what I want to share is this post had over 300,000, yes, 300,000 likes, 10,000 plus comments. It was shared over 2,700 times. She was really overwhelmed, but she got new business from this. So and I'm not saying you need posts that get tens of millions, but if you want to increase your business that you do on LinkedIn, regardless if you do B2B, B2C, regardless of why you're on LinkedIn, you need new people seeing your content. And I guarantee you a lot of new people that have never been exposed to Maria saw her content. So I know Maria didn't know I was going to share this with everybody today, and I hope she's okay with that. So, and now she was on my LinkedIn Live a few days before she posted this, so I'd like to think that I had something to do with it, of course, and I'm just joking. So here's the power of you got to get more second and third degree connections seeing your content. So at this time, I kind of want to share. Nadia was so nice enough to create some marketing around promoting this event. And she asked me to come up with maybe some misnomers about misconceptions about LinkedIn. And the first one was, I need to be active on all social media platforms. Well, I tried to do that for such a long time. And I realized that LinkedIn was my lane. And let's face it, it's really hard to be active on more than one platform. And if you are, hey, thumbs up to you. So you don't need to spread yourself all over the place. You really go all in on one platform. If that's Facebook, great. If that's Instagram, fantastic. If that's LinkedIn, even better. So that's my take on that, and we'll answer some questions, shortly on that. The next one we talked about was LinkedIn is only for business-related content, and personal stories should be kept off the platform. Well, I think from seeing Maria's post that we can debunk that myth 100%. The other one was, I don't have time to engage with the content of others because I'm too busy engaging with my own content. Well, let's say you have 5,000 connections or 5,000 followers. That's in the big scheme of things, my content wasn't getting a lot of traction until I got 10 or 15,000. And if you only have a few hundred, you really need more. So if you don't think that you can engage with the content of others, what I might suggest you do is what I did initially. Go out and find about 10 people in your industry, your company, maybe influencers that you want to follow, right? Maybe you align with their servant leadership, just their industry, again, whatever, and go follow them. And what I want you to do is, even if you're not connected to them, and Maria, I'm going to unfollow you for a second just so I can show this. But you're going to notice a bell pop up right here when I click more and I click follow. So now I can get notified in my notifications every time Maria posts. So think of this. Now, Maria's posts, a lot of the time, they get a lot of, a lot of attention, a lot of views. So let's say I'm the first person to really give a thoughtful comment on Maria's post. Well, I might get hundreds or maybe even thousands of people seeing my very thoughtful engagement on Maria's post. And I might get more people commenting and engaging on that than I do in a week on a post. Maybe not for me, but I'm just saying for the average person. So if you just take a half an hour a day and you engage, go to your notifications, check to see who's posted, and give a very thoughtful comment, that is a great way for you to build up your followers and your connections. So don't assume that somebody is maxed out at 30,000 connections just because they have 184,000 followers, or like myself, right? I have about 11,000 followers and I still have room for some new connections. So don't assume that. I've connected with people with millions and millions of followers. And I did that because I knew that they might not be maxed out. So one of the other questions, Nadia, that we had, or kind of misnomers was, why should I share my secrets? I tell you what, sharing tips and advice is the fastest way for you to grow your audience and your influence on LinkedIn. Nobody's going to take everything that you've given over weeks and weeks and months and months and months and put it all together. I provide resume tips, how to post for influence on LinkedIn, cover letter tips. Now, if somebody took all that advice and they created their own resume and got a job, hey, fantastic, more power to them. But when you provide your knowledge, you just seem like the go-to person. And LinkedIn rewards those that share an awful lot of content. My friend and my true friend on LinkedIn and coach, because even coaches have coaches, just received a top voice contributor honor, top mentoring voice on LinkedIn. And that, hey, make sure if you're not following Corey to follow Corey, especially anything regarding ChatGPT and AI. But sharing, regardless, I've seen people get top voice contributor that only have maybe 1,000 connections or followers. When you provide insights over time, LinkedIn rewards you, and that's a big honor. Big honor. The one thing that I always get all the time from my clients is I only connect with those in my industry and within my company. But I have a question for everybody. Does everybody in your family do what you do? How about your friends? Do they do what you do for a living? Do they all work at your company that you work for? No. So you really want to connect. And I think we saw that with those second degree connections, right? You never know. Just because that person's in hospitality and you're not in hospitality doesn't mean they might not be connected to the people that you might want to get in touch with someday. And using this search feature, because you can search by first degree, second degree connections. LinkedIn is the world's largest free database. And if you learn how to leverage it for that, you're going to see some great returns on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn has had some recent updates, and I really want to share these with everybody. And this will be really quick, but I want to go to my followers. So we've asked LinkedIn for a long time, or the super users on LinkedIn, we have asked LinkedIn, please allow more of our first degree connections, our second degree, our followers to see our content. And LinkedIn listened and recently changed something up. Now, about 2 weeks ago, I was growing anywhere from about 150 to 200 followers a day. Because of this new switch, last Thursday grew 444 followers in a day, and then 3 something, 5 something, 4 something, 5, 600 yesterday, and today over 415. Now, why does that matter? Again, we need more first, second degree followers seeing our content. And if you share your subject, what you're a subject matter expert about, that's various things, because I know all of you are amazing, and you share tips, advice, those followers will come over time, and it's just a snowball effect. But I highly suggest that engaging with the content of others. I spend way more time every day engaging with the content of others, that the people that mean the most to me on LinkedIn, than I do even my own content. Now, yes, I post 3 or 4 times a day, and I do teach my clients how to get these same results. And it's not uncommon for me to get a viral post every few weeks with 1 million views or close to 1 million. But remember what I shared from Maria's story. Going viral, you don't have to, and you shouldn't post to go viral. But when you do, great things happen because more new people get to see your content. Now, Nadia, I'd like to give some time back. I know I'm not at 20 minutes, but I'd like to give some time back, or maybe we have some questions that we can go over. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I just learned our next speaker cannot be with us for some emergency.
oh,
So you're giving so much value. You can go a little further, and next will be Tracy Clark.
all right. Well, Nadia, let me ask you, since we still have you on stage.
Sure.
Um, lately, have you seen any changes regarding to what content, or maybe you have a question about content that hasn't been working or has been working more?
You know, you've raised great points in terms of mixing up visibility with niching down, because I was on that like group thinking that visibility is not as important. But if think about it, if you are an expert in your field and people don't know about it, you're missing out on helping the people that can benefit from your know-how, that can benefit from your experience. The other misconceptions I had is that it's purely for business related company updates, shiny stuff to share wins and so on. But you know what? Those wins are only maybe 10% at best of what we go through. So sharing those learned lessons can help somebody else who is in an earlier chapter, and showing up. I think the hardest thing is the consistency. It's the easiest, yet the hardest at the same time. But having that big why are you sharing those lessons? It may resonate with somebody who is at a low point, and that's where you connect with people at a deeper level. So yeah, I've
Oh,
seen.
yeah,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Well, with Maria's story that she shared, a year ago, right? Um, well, I mean, she shared a lot in that story.
Hmm. Yep.
And if everybody wants to go see it again, go to her profile, go to her featured section. I think it's the second one in. But what if somebody went through something like that, or was
Yeah.
about to?
Exactly.
Again, the power of our voice, and I want to think, I want to take back. Maria had only about 5,000 followers, so you don't have to
Hmm.
have. I mean, everybody starts with zero, right? And it's
Yeah.
because that story resonated with so many that people just wanted and needed, to share that. Let me share my screen one more time here. Let me share my screen. All right. I want to talk about a post that I did about 7 months ago. Okay. Right. And it says, how do you show off your skills, your talents on your resume? And then it gives some tips. And then it talks about some tips for your LinkedIn, right? So this post got a lot of views. I'm going to share this in a second. But I put, some great tips here. And then I put, if this woman in the video had a LinkedIn profile, I would suggest that she add this particular video to her featured section. Now, it is somebody that is juggling with her hands and feet. Now, some people would say this belongs on Facebook. Now, I get it, but not everybody wants to see boring business stuff. We all love those, silly dog and cat videos, right? But this is so unique, and I was trying to share that in the text of the post, that we need. How do we share this type of unique things that we've done and accomplished in on our LinkedIn profile? And the featured section, we can add things like this. Now, not too many people do this, obviously, but 16,000 likes, 1.4 million views, impressions, shared almost 900 times. So what I want you to, yes, the content that you write matters, but I want you to think of this before you post next. Is it unique? And is it shareable? And I think that you can do the two. And it's obvious that you can. So for the people that think that this belongs on Facebook, hey, more power. Just don't follow me. But it's proof that it does. You can share as little or as much as you want. I got more than a few new clients from this because new people seeing your content, and I do teach how to kind of post for engagement as well too. So I just wanted to share that and kind of debunk that myth. Obviously, Maria's story resonated well. You can share as anything and everything that you want. Your audience will tell you whether it's worth putting on LinkedIn. So that's all I got today.
Thank you, David. That was awesome insights. Yeah, I add my voice to the origin stories are very powerful. So I encourage the audience, if you are an entrepreneur, people want to know what motivates you. They want to know what drives you. And you can communicate that through your origin story. And storytelling is very powerful in connecting with people. And mastering that is very powerful skill set to have as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a professional in general. We have a few questions here. One of them is by Dr. Harvey. He says, is there a way to apply for the top voice or help influence to get it?
I'll send me a DM. I'll send you a link to some advice and tips from LinkedIn, but you don't apply. It's one of those things that they've noticed you contributing. But I'll share a link with you if you DM me. I'll share a link with anybody. But it's more, and it's a long game. You really need to find your niche and really talk about it and engage with others that talk about it all the time.
Mhm. LinkedIn also has a collaboration, um, um, not newsletters, but articles that are niche down based on your keywords in your it's in beta. I think it's not available for everyone, but if you contribute to those as an expert, that will also help you be in those top lists.
100% over time. Yes, 100%. And that'll be pushed out to everybody, sometime soon.
That's awesome. And besides the 5 misconceptions we had, what is the number one mistake you see from dealing with clients when they um, upgrade their LinkedIn profile to position themselves as leaders in their
Sure. Then
field?
they do nothing with it.
What's up?
They do nothing with it. They make it all pretty. They take my advice and guidance, and then they do nothing. So if you're a job seeker, I have a little one pager I'd be happy to send you. But if you're a job seeker, there's briefly things that you can do. And Nadia and I covered this in my online course. And thank you, Nadia, for helping me with that. But there's little things that you can do to reach out to people in the same or similar roles that you're applying for at the company. If you're applying for a project manager at Amazon, go on LinkedIn, search for people that work at Amazon as project managers, reach out to them. I have some scripts for you, so they're absolutely free. But that'll get you way more traction. But when I say do something with your LinkedIn profile, maybe share an article, maybe share industry insights, or just share a post that your company did or whatever. Everybody wants to, be seen as like brand ambassadors. If I was hiring Nadia and I see that Nadia, applied for a job and she's posting and sharing all these things about her current company, I see her as that subject matter I see her as that brand ambassador for the company that she works for, regardless of how many, comments or whatever it gets. So, sharing industry insights shares your subject matter expertise in what you're talking about. Maybe sharing companies, what they got going on, a post, a feel good story at your company really makes you that brand ambassador.
Awesome. Yeah, one other questions we had through the previous submission was, how do I get customers on LinkedIn if I am a business owner or an entrepreneur? You covered some of that through content, but is there other tips you can share?
Sure. You can go searching for people that you believe might be your client avatar, customer avatar. You could search for them on LinkedIn, use Sales Navigator to search for them. But also, LinkedIn offers a service. I'll send a link to anyone, and it's free. I'll send a link to everyone. I won't get into the weeds too much on it, but it's for me. I knew it was a long game, so I was doing this as my side hustle and working my day job. And what I found most is by posting tips and engaging with others, others will promote you. If Nadia runs into somebody that might need a resume or need some career coaching, we'll talk to Dave. But we all do that. So, again, now you could be a little bit more strategic. If you need a coach, then reach out to somebody to help. But for me, it's posting and engaging with others in your industry. It will get customers coming to you. If you need customers today, don't DM them and sell them right away. It really almost has to be a long game, but there are some different things that LinkedIn offers for free that might get you inbound leads coming to you.
Awesome. Yeah. I think, people before they buy from you, they need to get to know,
Yes.
like, and trust you. So, and
100%.
content does that. Like when it comes to like the positioning yourself as a thought leader in your field, educational content helps. But when it comes to connecting with people and liking and trusting them, that's where your personal stories, strategic sharing. You don't share everything, but strategic sharing will connect you with the right people and repel the wrong ones too.
That is true. Yes.
Because
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. I think in terms of finding the people that you want to bring value to, it's important to rule out the ones that are not. This way, you're focused, your messaging is focused, and so on.
100%. I fire at least one client a month. When I say fire, I realize that quickly it's not a good marriage. So I quickly, but that's the way it should be. Just like a client should potentially, fire me initially if you want to work with, who you want to work with. But sharing, I shared a video yesterday of a video of me. I did like an ice bucket challenge with my employees if they reached a certain thing, and having somebody dump ice water on you, you lose your breath, and it's apparent in that video that I shared yesterday. But why did I share that? I wanted to share that, leaders, we have to be true to our word. If we say, hey, you get to do this to the boss, but sharing occasionally showing a photo, maybe a video of yourself, people get to really know you. I know that I really only truly develop strong bonds with somebody on LinkedIn if I get to see and hear from them. Once in a while, they don't have to post, video of themselves daily, but that's how I get to know, him or her. So don't be afraid to, share those videos.
Awesome. One other question was, how do you deal with trolls?
So I still have saved some ones that some messages that help motivate me at times. But I have learned, well, hey, if they're engaging on my post, guess what? It's helping my post. So I don't delete those unless they're really, really, really bad. But I don't even comment and engage with those anymore. If I get a DM, I just delete it or I block them quickly. Somebody asked me, Nadia, the other day, how many people I've blocked. So I looked it up because I wasn't sure. I've blocked over 500 people on LinkedIn. Now, generally, Bitcoin, not saying if I'm going to block you for sure, but if you start spamming me or whatever, and then blocking those fake accounts. And blocking fake accounts is very important because it actually helps LinkedIn, helps everybody, the community on LinkedIn by blocking those accounts.
Awesome. I brought here Jills and Tracy, who may have a question.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you, Nadia. And thank you very much, David, for really shedding light on what we believe we know about LinkedIn, but that we don't, to be perfectly honest. Here's a question for you. There's a lot of coverage about using LinkedIn to get clients as either a consultant or somebody who really wants to offer services through the platform. What's your view on somebody who runs a business which is independent from LinkedIn? And my view is that personal branding is as vital as important. How should they balance their personal page and what type of message versus their company page if you are the CEO of a business that's well established?
Sure. Oh, that's easy one. Let's take Elon Musk. Okay, he's got his hands in a few things, right? Let's just take Tesla and Elon Musk. Now, if Elon shares a post on social media and Tesla does, which content's probably going to get more attention, right? It's Elon, right? It is. We follow people. We might follow companies, but we really pay attention to and follow people. So if you're that CEO, you should be putting out content all the time. What you should also be doing is maybe giving a kudos. Instead of internal website going, Nadia, employee of the month, David, great job on this. Can you imagine your CEO posting something on LinkedIn, congratulating, on some success, or maybe they just saw somebody helping change a tire in the rain. I saw a video of this years ago. CEO shared that. But I mean, can you imagine how that employee would feel? We got a lot of quiet quitting going around. We need people in our employees to feel engaged, feel wanted, feel be heard, right? So CEOs that have really learned, whether it's a small company or a large company, when they've learned that, when they share content, it's seen and felt, not just the people that follow them, but their current companies. And companies do a bad job on LinkedIn, especially LinkedIn business pages, where, let's say that business page has 100,000 followers, but their posts get no traction. Why not send out emails telling your coworkers, hey, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we're going to post at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Take 5 minutes and engage. Your employees aren't going to spend hours doing it, but that helps build and that face of that company, and it looks like a place that I want to work, maybe if I want to work there. So now maybe CEOs or whatnot owners don't have time, then they can farm that out to their media department or whatever, but it still needs to come from them. Worry less about that company page, although you should still be posting content, but there needs to be somebody in leadership sharing that content.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we have a question here. Do you have a question, Tracy? Or else I can go to the
Yes, I was curious. You've talked a lot about virality, and I was wondering, are there any different types of formats of posts that you see go viral more than others?
Sure. Other than Maria's story that just shared a picture of her, right? And without a picture, it might not done as well. Videos like I shared with you, that woman juggling or whatnot, so I don't go looking for videos to match my content. I see a cool video, and that content just pops up what I should share. But what I want you to think of, Tracy, is before you post, is what I'm about to share between the text and that photo or video, is it unique? Like that woman juggling with her hands and her feet, right? Very unique. And is it shareable? Meaning it's so unique that other people might share it. And again, the message will not get lost, I promised you, because most of the people commenting were actually commenting on the text of the post. The video kind of captures their attention. So short video, 20, 30, 40 seconds. Probably in length. That's all we have the attention span for nowadays.
Awesome. We have a question here from Travis Delaney. Are there strategies for content posts when you are involved and expertise across different industries?
Sure. So that was a good question, Travis. We're all subject matter experts about various things. I still remember the very first video I shot on LinkedIn. It was January 24th of 2019. How do I remember that date? It was my 50th birthday. I was still working my day job, not even thinking about doing this until months later. But what did I share? I was happy I was 50 because I learned that I could contribute here in the United States. I contribute more to my 401k. Well, a lot of people didn't know that, so they started engaging. Now, I'm not a financial expert or anything like that. I might play one on TV, but I'm not. All kidding aside, I'm not. But I found that out, and so we're all subject matter experts about various things, right? So, regardless of the level of expertise, share whatever across any industry. A tip that you found, even regarding a different type of industry you're not even in, but share. So Travis, you just share and actually forget about it. You don't care if your post does bad today because nobody's going to remember it a day from now. So
Another question, how do you go about firing a client that is not a good fit? I'm asking about a diplomatic way of doing this.
And hey, nice seeing you on LinkedIn. I haven't. I need to make sure I'm following you. So nice seeing you again. So either in that initial call, but you need to do it quickly, right? And it depends on the nature of that. But a lot of times I'll do it in that discovery call. Hey, I'm happy we had the discovery call. I don't think I'm necessarily the person that's going to provide you with the best services, product, whatever that you need. Now, I have some suggestions of some other people. And so that's a great way because you're telling them no, but here's some other people that I think that might be able to do a better job just because of your niche or whatever. And you need to do that quickly, not to drag that out. So, they don't lose any time or whatever, but the quicker, the better. But I think there's some artful ways of doing that.
Awesome. And that's all the time we have for this great session. David, thank you so much for your time. And I highly encourage the audience to follow and connect with David on LinkedIn for anything that's LinkedIn related. He's my go-to person. And if you have any questions, you can connect with him or schedule a free strategy call on LinkedIn. Thanks a lot, David.
Thank you, Nadia.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jules. And our next speaker is the one and only Tracy Clark. Tracy is the owner of Tracy Clark Consulting. She's a multiplier leader. She helps visionary founders who love challenging the status quo and solving worthy problems to optimize, maximize, and multiply their potential, profit, and impact. She had an 8-figure exit. She led teams, and her companies received 2 Queen's Awards. She also won multiple executive and team coaching awards too. Her clients say that what sets her apart is that her unique blend of business, leadership, fused with mindset and identity upgrading. Tracy will talk to us about the multiplier leadership blueprint to ignite exponential growth and impact. Welcome, Tracy. Take it away.
Thank you, Nadia. Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you for inviting me to this amazing event.
Absolutely. All right, take it away.
So recently I came across a really intriguing experiment called the Biosphere in Arizona. And the aim of the scientists was to create a really lush and perfect garden in the middle of a desert where theoretically nothing could really grow. And during the experiment, the scientists found a really puzzling and surprising challenge. At first, things seemed great, really promising. The trees were shooting up, and it all appeared to be going really well, and they were super excited. But they saw that as the trees got to a certain height, they fell down. And the scientists were just really perplexed. They couldn't understand why this was happening. So they just really looked into it. And what they saw was, what they realized more to the point, was that the so-called perfect conditions that they had created in their biosphere were actually not perfect at all. And, the reality is in our gardens, there are different stress factors and environmental challenges that the tree faces, such as wind. And, the wind really contributes to the development of a tree. Because what it does is when it blows, it forces the tree's roots to grow deeper into the ground. And as the roots grow deeper, they provide the tree with more strength, more stability, and more nourishment so that it can thrive over decades and even centuries. But of course, the trees that were in this beautiful biosphere, they were lacking the wind. And so the result was that the trees that were growing there actually were developing very shallow and weak roots. And so these roots, these weak roots, couldn't sustain the weight of the tree and the branches as it grew. And that's why when they got to a certain height, they fell over. So you might be wondering, why on earth am I sharing this story with you? Well, as a visionary founder, it's really crucial for you to grow and deepen your metaphorical roots. And because this is what's going to allow you to multiply your profit, your impact, and your potential. And, your company starts with you, and with you becoming a really intentional leader of yourself. And your metaphorical roots are indeed your identity and your future self. And these are the roots that are going to enable you to create a more effective strategy, take more impactful action, and really become that empowering leader that we all want to be. Because after all, when we build a team behind us, we can go further, faster. And this is going to enable us to have just more impact and better results. So in a minute, what I'm going to do is I'll unpack and bring to life 3 sub-points of the 9 focal areas that are at the heart of the multiplier leadership blueprint, which I, work with and unpack with the visionary founders that I work with. And, this blueprint really enables them to deepen these roots, and so their metaphorical roots, so they can really create this exponential growth and multiply their profits and their impact, because that's really important to the founders that I work with. So as Nadia said, I'm Tracy Clark, and I've grown a business, I've led large teams, and I've achieved an 8-figure exit. But I've also been on a really transformational journey of growth and discovery. And I've worked with experts in mindset and identity. And it's been an incredible journey. And now what I've done is I've distilled the essence of the business and the leadership with the mindset and the identity. And I fused this into my unique multiplier leadership blueprint. And what I've done is I've created this. My aim has been to make it really accessible and really impactful, and above all, implementable, because the founders I work with are super busy, as I imagine you are. So the 3 points I'm going to dive into today, and I'm very happy to answer any questions at the end on them, are the first one, intentionally upgrading your identity or your future self so that you become this multiplier. Secondly, it's about embracing the power of presence to create exponential growth. And third, it's the transformative effect of challenging assumptions. So let's dive in. Let's dive into this first one, which is, of course, intentionally creating your future self as a founder, but also as a leader of others who challenges the status quo and is focused on really multiplying your results. So now, Nadia, if we can just share the visual, that would be amazing. Thank you. Because this visual brings to life the analogy of the tree. And what I see is that, most founders overlook the importance of deepening and strengthening their roots. And instead, they're focusing above the ground, and they're focusing on quick growth and strategies and actions that they believe are going to lead to this exponential growth. But what happens is, when the metaphorical wind blows and challenges arise, such as, we've all seen them, recessions, tough market conditions, financial constraints, we're seeing inflation, high interest rates, or increased competition. And when those roots aren't strong enough, the tree falls over. And that's why I believe a staggering 90% of startups fail. So, what I've seen is that the most powerful way to strengthen our roots as a founder is to upgrade our identity by creating a future self which is aligned to the vision that you want to achieve. And once you do this, it's all about stepping into it and embodying it, because this is what adds the fertilizer, the real fertilizer to these roots. And, this shift in identity is absolutely crucial, because who you're being directly impacts your thinking, your feelings, how you speak, how you show up, and then, of course, how you're interacting and the actions you're taking, which naturally impact your results. So as we're saying, the being is absolutely crucial. And, many of the founders I work with, they tell me that they get in their own way and they feel real frustration that they're not growing as quickly as they'd like to. And I hear a lot of them saying, oh, Tracy, I just want to be my best, and I know I'm not being that best version. And there's frustration because their teams aren't stepping up. And they, as the founder, are they're bearing the weight of the business on their shoulders. And of course, stress increases. And this happens because they don't know about the importance of shifting their identity. And so they haven't defined or indeed embraced, the identity, as I say, of the founder who is aligned with their vision and goals. And of course, what's absolutely crucial is that we get total clarity on what that end goal is, so that we can then create the identity that is aligned to that vision. And so what happens is the founders are still being the founder who is experiencing the struggles, the challenges, this firefighting I was mentioning. And so they're thinking from this restrictive identity. And of course, that, as I've just said, then it impacts their thinking, their feelings, their actions, and their strategies. And, I love an Einstein quote, and he says, we cannot solve our problems with the same level of thinking that created them. So what we need to do is we need to think from this new level of awareness and this new identity. So the first step is indeed to increase our self-awareness. And, absolutely fascinates me, because most founders and leaders they really overestimate their self-awareness. And I came across this amazing study that on self-awareness that showed that 80% of leaders thought they were self-aware, but only a shocking 15% were. So just imagine, those blind spots that they were having. And so what we need to do is we need to intentionally raise our self-awareness so that we can just start to explore these blind spots and fill them in. And then once we've raised this level of awareness, we need now to intentionally create and upgrade our identity. And I go through a real process with founders of asking them lots of questions, but just for the sake of, to explain how I do it, here are just 2 questions that I ask them. So the first one is, how will you be showing up as the founder who has, for example, reached $100 million and who's impacting both people and planet? And then the second one is around assumptions. So what assumptions will you be making as that version of you who has achieved your vision. And I'm going to talk about assumptions more in a minute. So, and then once you've created this vivid identity of who you're being, it's absolutely essential for you to feel into this and bring this to life. So, what I see is the founders that I work with, what they notice is when they focus on upgrading their identity, naturally their confidence builds, their gravitas grows. And, what I see is, or what they see is that they're aiming higher, they're closing just bigger and bigger deals every day. And they're just being bolder. Some have 10x their profits, and others are just seeing that they're really developing these high performance teams that are just allowing them to have that better work-life balance. And they're so grateful for this. And in fact, one of the founders I worked with the other day said to me, I keep getting asked by my team members, what am I doing? Because I'm just being so much more impactful than I've ever been before. So, that's music to my ears when I hear those great results. And, what the founders that I work with see, feel, and understand is that when they create their future selves and shift this identity, that is the key to deepening the roots in the image that we're talking about. So, you're going to notice that I use the word intentional a lot, and, I really do. And being intentional about how you lead yourself is absolutely key to your success. And one way that, we can become intentional is actually by embracing presence. And so this brings me to the second point, which is about the power of presence to create exponential growth. And, what I see is that, and you might be able to relate to this, that the founders that work with me, they're really pulled from pillar to post, and they're caught up in a real whirlwind of activity. And often that's tinged with stress and fear and anxiety. And often that, there's that voice in their head that's just getting louder and louder. And so often, if you know that voice, it's critical and it's harsh, and it's creating these worst case scenarios that then just trigger this fear and anxiety. And I suspect you might be able to relate to this. I know I certainly could. And the truth is 95% of everything we do, think, and feel is actually repetitive. And so what happens is we're unconsciously fueling this freneticism, this lack of clarity, and maybe the imposter and the stress and the fear. So we need to intentionally break this cycle. So I'm going to have a bit of fun now and see whether you're open for it. I'm going to invite you to just take a minute and close your eyes and just join me on a really brief present exercise that I take my clients through. It's extremely safe, and hopefully it's going to be very pleasurable. So just take a moment and close your eyes. And as you do, just connect to your breath. Take some deep breaths in and out. And again, just in and out. And feel the sensations in your body, in your hands, maybe in your feet and your legs, your head, or your chest. And just notice that alive stillness that's inside of you. And that's your inner energy field. And notice the calm and the peace and the serenity that emerges inside you. And just tune into those sensations. Just enjoy them. And maybe feel your shoulders drop. And take a few more deep breaths in and out. And now let's explore. Where does this alive stillness end? Does it transcend your body and the room you're in and the building you're in and even the city you're in? Where does it end? And as you explore, just notice that feeling of expansion, that stillness, and the power that's emerging inside you. Because this is who you are. You are the stillness. You are the awareness and the presence giving life to your mind, body, and your experience. So take a moment and just a deep breath and open your eyes and just come back into the room. And just notice, how did that feel? Maybe just comment in the chat, what sensations came up for you? I know when I conduct this with clients, when they open their eyes, just this beautiful smile, comes onto their face, and I just feel this intense sense of relaxation and indeed serenity. And what my clients find is that by embracing this presence, they gain new levels of clarity. And they move from that reaction, that frantic reaction, to just responding calmly. And they reconnect, which is really important, to their inner self-belief, because that's critical to our success. And then they also, in that stillness, they tap into a wider storehouse of ideas. Because ultimately, that's a field of infinite intelligence that has all the answers out there. And when we're still, we allow those answers and ideas and insights to come to us. And as a result, we become more innovative, more focused, more productive. And what my clients experience is that they become a magnet for opportunity and for business and indeed for other clients. And this was an exercise that I introduced to a very impressive and highly successful female founder that I worked with recently. And it's curious, despite her real success, that inner voice is really loud. And, her old thoughts and feelings just consistently emerged. And they'd cause her a lot of stress and anxiety. And what she'd say is they prevent her from thinking clearly, especially when she's in really important meetings. And she's filled with self-doubt. And so she now consistently uses this tool, which I've recorded for her. And she uses it as a portal to just bring herself back to this upgraded identity that we've created together. And she's found it transformational. And indeed, I'll never forget that first session after I introduced this to her. And she came onto the screen with this smile from ear to ear. And she was just saying to me, I feel empowered and I feel confident. And I'm just owning those meetings. And, the results we're getting from them are just amazing. And I could just feel, her relief in her and her gratitude. So, now that we have more presence through doing this exercise and clarity, that leads us onto the third point for today, third and final point. And this one is about challenging assumptions, which is going to enable us to challenge the status quo. Because, the founders that I'm working with, they really want to disrupt markets. And it's absolutely instrumental for them to challenge the status quo. And, assumptions are absolutely crucial as they directly impact the rest of our thinking. They impact the strategies that we then create, the actions that we take, the interactions that we then enter into. And those, of course, impact the level of profit, impact and potential, that we and our teams can indeed unlock. And what I've seen is, and you might want to just test this yourself, is that actually the assumptions that we make aren't actually always right. And so that's why they need challenging, because when they're not right, they hold us back. So I encourage my clients to challenge assumptions about themselves, about their teams, about their capabilities, their markets, and their clients. And, the first set of assumptions that we tackle are the assumptions that they're holding about themselves and about their identity. Because as we've seen, that identity is crucial to really deepening the roots of our trees. And, we need to create assumptions that are in alignment with our future self. And it's normal that the assumptions that we have now are not the same assumptions that we would have and will have as the future self. So it takes intentionality to really think about, well, as that $100 million founder, what are the assumptions that I would have then? And it's imperative to really slow down to these. And then the other set of assumptions that I love looking at with founders are ones that they're holding, often subconsciously, about their teams and their direct reports. And often what happens is they find that they can unwittingly be causing them to fall into what I call a diminishing style of leadership. So they might be holding the assumptions that maybe they need to be involved in all the decisions to, really get the best outcomes. And so, they're shutting down the potential of the team, and they're leaving opportunity and potential on the table. And then that, of course, leads to lower levels of productivity and retention, which is certainly, an issue for a lot of people at the moment. And then another area of assumptions that I get my founders to explore is really importantly around what's possible. And, as we're seeing, when we challenge assumptions, really incredible things happen. And one company that I work with, they were in the process of being acquired. But as they saw their profit increasing and their impact, we were talking about, well, what is possible? And they challenged the assumptions, and they shifted from being acquired to now setting up a plan to become the acquirer. So that's a radical shift there, and one that's really going to benefit them. So, as we're seeing, the challenging assumptions really helps us expand our thinking. So, maybe you're intrigued by what I've been saying, and what I'm going to bet is that actually your old subconscious and repetitive beliefs might well be kicking in at the moment. And, that's completely natural. And maybe they're saying to you, sounds interesting, but actually I don't really have time, and I'm under pressure to perform. And actually my firm belief is that it's around hard work and strategy. And, these repetitive and ingrained beliefs, they're looking to keep you at your current level of results, because ultimately our subconscious likes to keep us in the known because that's what feels safe. And even if that known zone is actually not what's best for you. So, my view is you don't have time not to invest in strengthening your roots. This can be the difference between growing, between thriving, between making that significant impact that you really want to create, or falling short and maybe, having frustrations and having regrets. And what I've seen is that as you strengthen your roots and your strategy does become sharper, your actions become more impactful, and you gain more time. So, and you become, as I mentioned earlier, you become that effective leader, and you build that high performance team that allows you to become this multiplier, and it enables you to do this above all with more ease and joy, and it enables you to, on your 90th birthday, to not have any regrets. So let me leave you with a question. What type of tree are you growing into? Maybe the one that might just have the shallow roots and might just fall over in the near future? Or are you becoming the one that is deepening and strengthening the roots, your roots, by becoming an intentional leader of yourself, so that you multiply your impact and your results. So I'd like to thank you for your time, and Nadia, I'd be really delighted to answer any questions that anyone might have.
That was awesome, Tracy. Yes, we have a few questions here. One was a comment by, hold on a second. There you go. By Travis Delaney.
Yeah.
True self-awareness is a journey and learning how to hack yourself for growth as an individual. Tracy Clark, thank you. You are so good at helping navigate that journey.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Travis. And I completely agree. You know, it is a journey, and I think that it's a continuous journey. And what I see is that, you know, we it's a bit like an onion. You're peeling layers off. And actually, as you go on this journey of identity and creating your future self, there's always the next level of you. And as there's that next level of you, you're going to find another level of another level of maybe blind spots or areas that you would just be really helpful for you to explore.
That's awesome. And we have one question here. I'll show it as a banner. You mentioned it's important to increase self-awareness. How do you go about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do it in several ways, but one of my go-to tools, Nadia, is the Enneagram that I've talked to you about. And it's a really powerful, transformative self-awareness and leadership tool. And sometimes people equate it to personality tools, but I see it that it's actually far richer, and it enables you to go a lot deeper. It enables you to understand, to gain greater levels of depth into your motivation. So not just understanding why you do what you do, but so what you do, but why you do what you do. And this is just transformational. And I find that as we're going through it, just people get more and more insights, and those aha moments of, oh my goodness, I really didn't realize I did that. And I see, you know, I've had quite a few clients. I'm thinking of one in particular who, one of the blind spots that came up was that maybe he was intimidating. And he said to me, Tracy, absolutely not. That's definitely not me. And I, you know, gently reminded him that they're called blind spots for a reason. And he was shocked, and he said to me, oh my goodness, do you think that might actually be the impact I'm having? And actually it was. So that was a gift. It was hard at first, but now, you know, it's enabled him to understand the impact he's having and be more intentional about it. And now he's getting greater buy-in from his team. And then, you know, there are other things, Nadia, as well. One can be getting feedback, asking people in your team for feedback, or peers or people that know you well, who you can trust. And then what I also say to people is, think about if there's a gap between your intentions and the impact you see you're having. And that can be quite good. And then just self-reflect and see, hey, my intention was to have this impact, but I'm clearly not. So what is going on? So self-reflection is absolutely crucial.
Awesome. I think David here has a question, so I'll bring you up.
Lovely.
Go ahead, David.
All right. So I know this because through my clients, you know, sometimes they're too close to the subject matter to really be able to see and hear it. So, I mean, this is very therapeutic what you do, really, to be honest. But people come, is there something in common that most people come to you for? Where are they stuck?
Yeah, good question. And they're stuck in different things. I'd say most of them know that they want that next level. They know that they've got more potential inside them. So they're looking at the bottom line of their business and they're going, I know that I should be here, but I'm here. And then what they're generally experiencing is that they're holding themselves back, when they're honest, they look at it and they go, oh my goodness, I've got this team, I've hired them. On paper, they're really good. But what am I doing that is holding me back from being that leader that's going to get me to unlock their potential and then might help me move the needle on my business? And, you know, what I find, David, is actually, you said, you know, it's a journey, isn't it? And as you're having the conversations, they start to get insights into what they could be doing differently. And what I love is that ultimately the buck stops with you as the leader and the founder. It's not about looking outside yourself. It's about saying, actually, if I take radical responsibility for myself and how I'm showing up and who I'm being, then I can create this exponential ripple effect.
And then just one follow-up. If I'm going from that leader that maybe isn't getting what, you know, and then all of a sudden maybe my team see a shift in what I do, how do I balance, you know, them, you know, that team going, wait, Dave's changing a lot. And so is he trying to get one over on us or whatever? So there could be that going from, you know, zero to hero, right? Really quick. Yes. So how, you know, what steps can I do, you know, along that journey so they don't really think something is up? Because I have had leaders in the past, again, go from this to this, and you kind of wonder what's really behind this, right? So what are some things?
And that is a fantastic question. I'm all around authenticity and humility. And I say to them, you know, or I say to the founders, tell your teams that you're having coaching. Tell them that your aim is always to be the best. And as you go on your journey of growth, you're going to be able to be a better leader to them, and you're going to be able to bring out the best in them. And I encourage them to say, hey, you know, I'm just going to experiment with a few things. And often one of the areas that holds leaders back is seemingly quite simple, but it can be quite challenging for some. And that is about asking questions. So remembering, you as the founder don't need to have all the answers. In fact, when you've got a good team, it's about instilling that belief in the team and saying, hey guys, together, we're going to come up with a better solution. So what I'm going to do, I've got some ideas, but I want to hear from each and every one of you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask you questions. And I'd love us just to explore and brainstorm. And this has what I call this multiplier effect, because A, they're feeling believed in. And then also the founder is being vulnerable. The team's going, hey, I'm liking this. And then the essential next step is, once you've asked the question, leave them the space and be quiet so that they can talk. But going back to your question, I suppose, David, it's be honest, be truthful, tell them what you're doing, and inspire them, show them it's all around growth and that you're committed to your own personal growth.
Jules, you have a question?
I do. And thank you very, very much, Tracy, for fabulously really presenting the power of question and this aspect of mindset from a coach to a coach. Really well done. So here is a question for you that may also give perspective to our audience. As you go through unlocking this mindset and working with self-awareness and really what's happening inside the mind, a tremendous amount of personal growth ensues for your clients and your founders. Yeah. What's your advice, and what do you leave them with for them to go on consolidating and still having this open mindset once you are removed from the picture?
Yeah, great question. And that's why I actually use that analogy of the tree and the metaphor. And I show them that actually I'm giving them these set of tools and the questions to ask themselves, firstly on the identity level, that I say to them, you know, as you reach that next milestone and the next one, and you get to your goal, you probably want to achieve something else. So it's about going back and asking yourself similar questions that's going to take you to that next level. So that's at the heart of it. I mean, as I say, identity really is at the core. And then it's very much around practicing the presence, I believe, is one of the game-changing elements. And it's really being still and being aware. So you're consistently tuning in to what's going on inside you. Because ultimately, as you connect to yourself, you're going to understand what's out and what's not. And so in this journey, you're becoming more in tune with your gut, more in tune with what feels right. And it's really around using your feelings as a guidance system also to see whether you're on track or you're off track. And Jules, you might well talk about this in a minute, but I see that often leaders come at things from a very rational, logical perspective, but actually we need to embrace the whole of who we are, and feeling into that is important. So going back to your question, I'm giving them approaches and strategies and questions that are going to help them consistently upgrade their identity and their mindset.
Thank you very much.
Consistently get feedback. I think we can never get enough feedback. And again, I think that shows vulnerability, which I think is a great hallmark of a great leader.
Thank you, Tracy. One more question here. You make it sound easy to shift your identity. What challenges do founders face in doing so?
Yeah, so they can face quite a few challenges, and as I mentioned, 95% of everything we do is on autopilot. So the biggest challenge can be not being consistent and intentional enough about stepping into this future self. And consistency is absolutely crucial. And one of the other elements is that I see people, they can take this a little bit intellectually. We've got the description of who they're going to be, and they're going, yeah, I can see it, and I can talk about it. But actually what they're not doing is they're not experiencing it. And it needs to turn from an intellectual to an experiential process. And that's probably one of the biggest challenges, or one of the biggest hurdles obstacles that stop people embracing that future self. And then, I'd also say it's that inner voice, isn't it? Who are you? Who are you to be that person? I know you and I have talked about before about imposter, and that can certainly come up. But again, going to presence and just observing these voices in your head and noticing them, pushing them away, but lovingly noticing them, and then allowing them to dissolve. And with that, we can then intentionally bring in the future self.
That is awesome. We have one comment here from the audience, so I'll bring that up. Starting a science-based business brings with it a number of difficulties, time pressure, and the harsh realities of the industry. There is no end to that gap you mentioned. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the reality is that we're living in a world, and especially if you're in the science space, that is just changing consistently. And it's dealing with uncertainty. We are dealing with uncertainty the whole time in life, and particularly as founders in this fast changing world. And I believe that actually the more you understand yourself and understand the power of creating this identity, the more certainty you can create, because you're realizing it's an inside job, and you can then be stronger, calmer, more resilient to just flow. The wind is going to blow as the tree, and it's not that the tree stays rigid. The tree does does move. And it's allowing ourselves to just flow with it, but remain with our deep roots. And I think that's what can really help us in this times of change.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Tracy. The reminder for the audience, if you'd like to be in touch with Tracy, you can reach out to her on LinkedIn so you can have a session with her. And you can also, I'm going to add your barcode here to the stream. So people who would like to book a call with you, take a screenshot of this, and you can book a call with Tracy if you need help.
Yeah, and this is very much just, Nadia, it's a very sort of gentle call where we can just explore where you're at, what's going on with you. And I give you my word, I do not sell. I'm all about adding value.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Tracy. That was very, very helpful. And it felt like a live presence session with you. I can do that for a long time. Thanks a lot. And with that, we're going to move to our next speaker. And David, Alto, take it away.
All right. So our next speaker, founder and CEO of the award-winning tech startup, Zebulon. I sorry if I mispronounced that, but Giles has over 2 decades of leadership experience in banks and hedge funds, having been a senior managing director of Citigroup and one of its global trading heads. His tenure in finance and as an entrepreneur has honed his strategic acumen, people skills, mindset, and leadership techniques. He is also an executive coach, guiding managers and leaders to inspire, engage, and excel. So let's bring him.
Just cut you up there for a little. So keep going.
Oh, I was just saying, let's bring him up on stage.
Thank you very, very much, David, for a punchy introduction. I want to thank you also, Nadia and Tracy. It's an absolute delight and pleasure to be in great company and to be sharing this panel with you. I would like to thank our audience for the time they give us, for being here and the interest you have in those topics. Brilliant to learn together. And for those whom are going to watch the replay, thank you and enjoy. My name is Gilles Dahan. I've been introduced and we'll talk about leadership. Now, Tracy brilliantly presented an aspect of the work we do with leaders, which is mindset and unlocking that aspect of the leader performance. What I'd like to take you through is, in practice, how do people in a leadership position make it happen? How do you become an effective leader, a respected leader, an inspiring leader? And therefore, how do you take your leadership skills and position to create a culture that is conducive to performance inside your company, within which would be running great teams? So, without further ado, let's go. First of all, a little story about me. What's with me and leadership? Well, if we rewind back some 20 years, I was a trader with a few years' experience trying to navigate my way through the jungle of Wall Street. I was working for a large investment bank on its trading floor. I was extremely happy. I was enjoying it. I love numbers, and it was really, really my space. But then a bit of an unexpected, scary opportunity hit me. And namely, I was part of a team of 4 traders. I was second in seniority, and I was asked to take over the team. I was asked to manage the team, which is unusual, because in the team was a trader who was more senior than me and more experienced than me, an absolutely brilliant trader. Our boss moved on, had to develop a brand new business, and wanted to appoint somebody. And it was me that was offered the job. Why that's the case is probably for another story. But the point is that it was a challenging opportunity because that's what everybody wants, right? Not everybody, but you want to grow and you want to be promoted. As a trader, knowing that my previous management experience was head of the flipping burger station at McDonald's during my summer jobs, you take an enormous amount of responsibility because it's not about the good intention of the people in your team, it's about how much money they make. They could have the best intention in the world. If they make a mistake or if they call market wrong and they lose money, you own that team and you own that P&L. And so you really want to be ready when you take over the team. More importantly, though, how could I become the manager of that senior trader who knew more than me, knew better than me, and pretty much didn't need me to do his job? Yet, I took up the challenge. And this was probably one of the biggest blessings I could have, because while I was focusing on managing and training and helping the junior part of the team, I was not really compelled to jump and assert control over the team and over that trader, Ray, much more senior than me, because there was no point. And I did not have an appetite to micromanage him. Nor did I have an incentive to breathe on his neck and tell him what to do or to take credit for what he does, because he was known everywhere. And so I was given the opportunity to sit at the very, very front row of what it is to be a servant leader and an enabler of performance. And so what happened is I kept asking myself, how can I help that individual? What can I do? Can I do anything? And slowly, I realized that he needed help with interpersonal skills. I mean, a trading floor 20, 25 years ago is a bunch of introverts who usually date spreadsheets more often than anybody else. And so I started to become the PR of that trader and to set up meetings to showcase his performance and to establish bridges and to build a team so that he would be freed up from any admin, to bring resources and to kind of elevate him. I became somehow his friend and his coach without any training. He needed a listening ear. And freed up of everything that was around him, he performed even better. The flip side is that because I gained his trust by not taking credit and by basically, he was actually paid more than me for the first couple of years of this situation. So the flip side is I got him to help me train other traders. And I got him to run weekly sessions to basically train people across the floor. And I drove innovation, and it was my good training ground to launch MVPs. It was a beautiful symbiosis. The team did very, very well, and the team profile actually grew across the floor. And what was amazing is not only I discovered what it is to be a leader, the job of management, but also that it is what the firm wanted. I'm talking about the largest bank in the world wanted. So my team of 3 became a team of 5. My team of 5 became a team of 10. And within 8 years of being at the organization, I was promoting to managing director and running the entire European trading operation of this particular bank, and then moved to global. The rest is history. The point, though, is that very, very early, I was blessed with a crash course and beautiful lesson in what is management. It is a job. It is a job that requires skills, stamina, intent, and cannot be done on the side or cannot be winged if it wants to be done properly. Leadership is one of the most powerful tools I have found at the service of a company to be successful. And leadership transcends positions and hierarchy. It applies everywhere. I found out and I learned that, yes, I love numbers and I love charts, but also love people. And I love putting things together, setting up the scene for people's success somehow. And if I look back at my trading career, which spanned more than 20 years, yes, we are all benchmarked against P&L, how much money we made. And at State, I had my own P&L, the team P&L, but I can tell you that surviving crisis and my biggest successes were down to the investment in people. I became fascinated with leadership. And to this day, this is an integral component in everything that I do inside my business and also in community. Okay, who am I talking to today? Managers, okay, so you got it? And founders and C-suite. In other words, people who don't necessarily have people reporting to them, but anybody with a position of influence has opportunity to show leadership. And it's especially important for founders because it's very tempting for a founder to be seen as the product person, or it's my idea, I'm just the idea person, and to maybe forget that there is an entire aspect of their position that the company relies on in terms of expanding it, growing people, and managing them. Okay. So takeaways for today. If there is two things I'd like you to remember for today, and you can always reach out and connect for more, is there is a process between mindset that we talked about, process and training. Individuals can become great leaders and great managers. They don't have to be born like that. If they are, and if they have abilities and yes, and interpersonal skills, and if you use charisma and all this kind of stuff, this comes on top. This gives flavor and maybe strengthen. But actually, what I've spent my years doing is managing so many people in so many different situations under high pressure. And when money is at play, emotions are at play, is to try and create a code of how to handle people, how to build teams, and how to be a good leader. Now, let's give a little bit of context. Building a business, very fascinating, whether it's inside an existing company, an innovation, a new team, or whether it's already funding a startup. All those dots represent the universe of startup being created, and the green dots is how many startups will remain alive after 5 to 10 years. That's 4%. Pretty grim, pretty hard, we know that. Here is a more interesting statistic. Out of those startups that failed, out of those businesses that failed, those 96 dots, the orange dots represent how many failed because of people problem. This comes from a Harvard Business Review study that was released not so long ago and then rehashed. Basically, misunderstanding within the management team, lack of leadership, not enough leadership in place, disengagement of staff, and therefore lack of bandwidth, a range of issues are causing most businesses to fail. As opposed to the white dots, which is business conditions, which is you run a technology company that's leveraged and interest rate go from 0 to 5%, which is COVID, which is regulation changes, and so on and so forth. More than half businesses is down to what is under the control of leaders. And that's absolutely enormous. I mean, without really those statistics and those surveys, if you run a business and you know how difficult it is to acquire a client, to keep a client, how precious it is to get a product or an approval from a regulator, you know also how it is to kill one. One phone call, one absence, one failing to respond, being a little bit rude, not giving the right price can kill a client and the revenue associated with it. People are vital and amazing. Okay, a more positive way to look at it now is the value of leadership. So some research institutes spend their time here, this is a Gallup survey, spend their time trying to assess the value and the impact of efficient leadership and good management in companies. In these studies, which was around 30,000 businesses, they assessed, they measured that profits were 48% better in companies that had solid leadership culture and good caliber of managers as opposed to others. That really talks to the previous slide we showed. And so forget the numbers, 48%, 40%, 45%. Here we talk about survival. When you're a business, sometimes 3% of profit and is basically the tail end of those businesses that survive is down to not their product, their leadership. Okay, so what I'd like to do therefore, I would like to share with you 5 principles today that I have come to learn are common areas that underpin solid and successful leaders and great teams. When we talk about leadership and culture, we don't know where to start. There is plenty of details. But I've identified 5 areas which are buckets of content, which I work on with founders and others to identify usually when there is a problem of leadership and or culture in the organization, and to help them prop up and build solid cultures of leadership. First principle, own your role. There is a very meaningful truth of leadership we need to get out of the way here. Is that I see too often founders and managers struggling and wrestling with the idea of how to fire up their teams and to earn respect. When more often than not, the problem comes from the fact that they are too busy competing with their own team as opposed to leading them. So a typical example, a sales team, somebody gets promoted as the head of the sales team. That person's natural instinct will be to keep the same number of clients, to keep the biggest clients, and to be on the road to make sure they can show they've produced something. In the same time, totally ignoring the needs of the team and negating the role of the leader. The reality is that as a leader and as a manager, you are in a pretty powerful and key position. And you wield some very meaningful influence, probably paid more than the average, and have access to a lot of resources that you didn't have before. But are you using that in order to level up your team? And the reality is that you want to be respected as a leader? Fine. Your team and your people want to see you doing leader stuff rather than competing with them. They want to see you take strategic decisions. They want to see you be locked up in the office with the most senior people in the industry to find out what the future holds. They want to see you network with other leaders and build bridges with other teams to bring resources to your team. They want to see you keep an eye on competition and make the right hires so that the team becomes the best team on the street. They want to see you in the newspaper. They want to see you become a thought leader in your area. At the end of the day, all your team is required from their leader is that their leader focuses on their future and makes them shine. At the same time, the team is going to go on about their day-to-day job. And so, it's maybe not obvious. Yes, of course, it takes some guts. It takes some self-awareness. There is technique and there is ways to help with that. But the key here is that only when you own up to your role as a leader and manager, do you become, in the eyes of your people, a manager and a leader worth following. So regularly ask yourself, what can I do in my team, in my organization, to make the work of my team easier, to make them better at what they are, and to make them more successful? And regularly ask yourself, what did I do to make them this and this and this, so that you become effective? Okay, principle number 2, vision and mission. It's a very interesting one here. When we found the business, we know what we want to do. We have an idea. There is a billion things to do. We're on our own. We don't think about vision and mission. And when we are manager number 1,000 in an organization, again, I just have my mandate. I'm going to cover UK sales, and we don't think much. We want to inspire people. Well, what really inspires people is to craft a common and unified vision of what we want to do. And at the end of the day, founders are fine, and managers give themselves way too much pressure in trying to be the one person that inspires the team, the all singing and dancing and cool and smart and know-it-all and the chat GPT of the organization, when in fact, people don't necessarily want to buy or to follow or to be inspired by a person, but by their ideas. What's your plan? What do you believe in? And so spell out your vision, what it is you want to do. What problem do you solve? How do you want to solve it? What are your values? Spell out the way you see the world and your belief, so that you give to your people really somebody easy to buy into. Maybe they won't agree and you'll discuss. But if you get your business model right, it's beautiful to see it advertised. Actually, even as a founder, if you want to raise money, these are the first questions we ask you. What problem do you solve and who do you cover? And so it's a very healthy business exercise somehow. And what this allows you to do is to define a set of values about, how you want business to happen. That's a core component of culture. How do we treat clients? How do we treat each other? Do we run after profitability or after innovation or after market share? All those things can be sometimes advertised, but you create a set of values that holds your people and you to the same standards. And here's something magical happened. Because somebody comes to your company, they see you, and they see a projection of your ideas. It's you've written all over it, but it's not you. It doesn't get moody. It doesn't have a bad day. It doesn't disappear overnight. It's a set of ideas that everybody is held against inequality. And this is when your people start to feel they belong. Okay. Principle number 3, integrity. Goes without saying, I had to mention it. You want trust, you want respect from your people, show integrity. Very simple. Are you a black box that applies very fuzzy, random rules? Or are you somebody that means business, that has the business interest at heart? And the business rules you've advertised, do they also apply to you? If they do, then you will relieve a massive weight from the shoulders of your people, because naturally people have incentive. They want to be mentally challenged, or they want to earn money, or they want to have purpose. So they're going to look as to how do I get that? And they're going to look to the leader. How do I please the leader? The more you show that you are one of them when it comes to making the business work, the better. Principle number 4. Now we get there. How do you engage your team? That's a crucial aspect. You've established a vision, you've established a mission, you have a reputation, you have integrity, you own up to your role, but how do you do? We know micromanagement is not good. It suffocates team, it suffocates people, they get demotivated. Well, a way to motivate individuals is to empower them to be themselves and to do what they do. As a leader, if you have done your job right, you will have trained your people properly so that they transform over the years. And you will have hired people who do what they do much better than you can, and who know a lot of stuff that you don't know. So why wouldn't you let them do what they do, as opposed to feeling that you have to be all over them and controlling everything, obviously. So empower them. Give people the ability to take risk. Back them up. Give people the tools and the space to be independent and free-thinking individuals. Now, do that smartly, because here is a risk. How do you empower people without losing control? And how do you empower people in ensuring that their behavior will be aligned with what you want to happen? And it's a key aspect of how I would define the role of the leader and the role of the manager. It is to be the architect of the operational framework of the team. You have a collection of individuals. Your job as a leader is to make them work together. So, who does what? Effective delegation. Clear guidelines as to how to conduct business, what business we like, what we don't like, if you want a more precise version of your vision and mission statement. Escalation. If your team is free, invariably there will be boundaries. Transactions that are too large, a client complaint, don't leave them hanging. Tell them what to do, how to escalate. Training, coverage during vacation, continuity of service, contingency, resources. That's what you can do as a leader. None of it interferes with your team's ability to think, to act, and to feel that they own their destiny, but you design a framework within which they operate. And you monitor that framework, end of the reporting, end of week reporting, communication channels. And that's what you find, and you strike the balance, depending on the business you are, between being a present leader, somebody whose job and authority is justified and needed, at the same time as fully empowering your individuals and your people. And there is techniques to do that. There is devil in the detail, obviously, of how you can do that. But that's the key in finding that particular balance and getting your team to grow at the same time as keeping yourself, your authority. Last principle is probably one of the more crucial ones, is that your impact as a leader on your people goes much, much, much deeper than you think. You impact your people directly, how you get them to work, how you treat them, and how they fare in your company. And you impact your people indirectly with how does it feel to work at your place. As a leader, you have a unique opportunity to bring a conducive environment. Is it good to work at your company or in your team? In your team, are people safe to be themselves and to be thinking? We want our people to be innovating, but are they free to share ideas and to take risk without being humiliated? And do we even have forums and channels for people to go and issue those thoughts? Promotions and rewards, are they somehow transparent? Or is it a total black box for your favorite people? All this is an integral part of your impact and effect as a leader on your team. Because at the end of the day, you want to inspire people, you want them to work for you and give their best. The first thing you realize is they are people. Your people are individual, and they are whole individual. They are not simply a set of skills. They have personality, they have a personal life, they have a home, they have parents, they have a culture, they have a family possibly. And there's one fundamental truth you need to keep in mind as a leader. Your team, your employees will bring home either of two things: positivity or negativity. I used to talk about my boss all the time. To my wife, I was proud. My boss told me I did a good job this week. My boss is putting me on a new project. My boss is sending me to New York to meet his boss. My boss is sending me on this particular training. My boss thinks he might promote me. That was what mattered to me. So ask yourself, what do I do for my team? And what do they say about me when they come home? Ask yourself, how involved are you in their growth and their performance? When they look year after year after year, did they become more prized asset on the street? This was one of my key metrics. Every year I called a headhunter and I checked the market value of every single of my people. And if it went down, I sat with them and said, why? And I made sure that I gave them the training and the support to convince them that I was behind it. If you are associated with good that is happening to your people, do you know when they have a crisis? Do you know if somebody lost a parent? Do you know if somebody is not being treated properly by their manager? That doesn't take hours a week, but it's a matter of process and metrics so that they know they are on your radar. And so what I will leave you with is, number one, if you treat your people fairly and you show integrity, they will respect you. If you help your people succeed, they will trust you. And if you elevate your people and show that you care, they will love you and they will have your back. And this will make a difference between surviving a crisis, innovating, and not. And you've noticed I didn't talk about presentation skills and effective delegation. I didn't talk about running meetings because it's all important, but it comes on top of what I believe here and lay out for you, the foundation of effective leadership and the basics of how to run great and successful teams. Thank you so much. An absolute pleasure. And I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you very much, Jills. That was awesome. Um, yes, you've tapped into the foundations of leadership, how to build trust, how to motivate your team, to make them grow, and so on. How do you balance vulnerability and, still being a leader within your team?
It is values, missions, and goals. I think the issue of authenticity and being vulnerable, which is what people want to see, people want to see you as an authentic person that's transparent, comes from everything sitting inside the leader, every decision, every vibe. But if the leader does a proper job of saying, listen, this is our business, this is our metrics, and this is our standards, you can have the toughest and highest standards. I used to do 17-hour days, and I love my boss. When you set those standards very clearly and everybody's according to them, you can be who you want to be. It's your idea. You can be vulnerable because at the end of the day, if you have a bad day, then you build a system and a framework that makes sure the business doesn't have a bad day. And then everybody like that, and it percolates all the way down, allows people to be authentic, to be human. We can't hear you, Nadia.
Sorry, I was muted. We have a comment here from Martin Sornes. For innovation to work as a framework, they need to be loyal, treat them good. Can you comment, how do you retain talent, especially, talent that's in high demand?
Yeah, I think, those three was treat them good. My experience is that the temptation to retain talent is to throw money. That goes only so far. That's good. That's good because a lot of founders and managers believe that it's an honor for you to work for me. That doesn't fly. That doesn't work. Throwing money, obviously, and trying to support people is great. At the end of the day, purpose and enthusiasm. People are people, especially today. They are whole. They have emotions. Make them feel they belong. Make them feel they matter, and they will depend on being in your shop. And they will accept tough years. Purpose, if you can get there, and it takes a bit of work. None of it is easy. But look, with 4% chance of having a business that survives, let alone makes money, that's not easy either. So just embrace it and be happy that there is a technique and go about it.
David, you have a question?
You're on mute, David.
I bet you that's better.
Yeah.
So I know the importance of having a company's mission statement, but how could having a personal, family mission statement help?
A wonderful dimension, David. I was a guest on a podcast a few weeks back on work-life balance. My career took me to extremes. I'm a family man, and I'm a volunteer for a local community. Your personal family mission statement is as important as your work one. If anything, I would say that if you want to pursue a career and be a leader that is there for its responsibility, you want to ensure that you have the buy-in from the things that are the most important in your life. If it's your partner, if it's your children, if it's a parent, set your priorities and draft what's acceptable and not. I did that with my wife. We went through banking crisis. There was periods where I didn't know if I was going to have a job the following week. And so I sat with my wife and I said, okay, you know what? Things could happen. What's acceptable and what's not? Traveling once a month, a week, fine. Staying all-nighters, I did so many, canceling vacation. Yeah, we did that. Not every time. We did that. But for example, doing Monday to Friday in another country and being there only at the weekend, no. It's absolutely vital if you want to develop and go and yourself find as a leader purpose. I mean, sure, you can inspire your people and take care of them. Self-care is as important. And that's absolutely vital. David, thank you so much for asking.
Yeah, thank you.
Tracy, you had a question?
Jill, great presentation, by the way.
Thank
And
you.
I'd just love to hear from your perspective what you feel are the biggest challenges that founders face when they become leaders, because so often they don't have leadership experience.
Yeah. There are two main challenges, three, I would say. First of all is awareness. They don't realize. They could go 6 months, 8 months, 9 months without knowing that they need a team, how it looks like to be successful, or they hire somebody because they get a bit of money. They don't set goals. They don't sit with them. They don't understand that people need to be managed. If you don't own 70% equity in the business, you have to be motivated by something else. So first of all is awareness. Number two, the biggest thing is skill and the appetite and the time to train. It's very easy to spread thin as a founder and to think, because leadership and management is fuzzy, right? Up until it bites you, it's fuzzy. Up until your partner leaves or your tech lead goes for 10 grand more or 10 grand less because he's unhappy, all of this is fuzzy. So it's really giving it the importance. And for this, no need to do PR. You don't do it on your own. The smartest move a founder that doesn't have leadership experience can do is to get help. Get a coach, get a mentor, join a community of founders, which is why we founded with a bunch of brilliant people, the Founders Sunday, to try and exchange ideas just to bring awareness. Tracy, your question goes a long way, because in the stats I showed about businesses that work or not and don't work, the businesses that run money through VC, the first thing VCs will do is to challenge the position of the founder as a CEO. And very often you're going to see founders becoming non-CEO to vet the money they are given, because you need the skills, you need the investment, you need the experience, at least the buy-in and the willingness to be that person.
Absolutely.
Awesome. We have a question here from the audience. So let me bring it up here. By Philip Sparks. Bias plays a key element of self-awareness that inhibits founders. How do you advise founders to overcome some of the unhealthy biases that have been embedded that may conflict with bias of client and teams?
Yep, solid. I hope I get this question right and answer it to the point, Philip. But at the end of the day, what I rephrase it at is a founder is a human being. A leader is a human being too. And we're asking the leader to take a lot of conscious decision to build this and treat people like that and this and this and this and this and that. Biases and malpractices. The first thing I would say is, first of all, if you start from scratch, take a conscious decision to do homework. Not necessarily on social media, but sit with clients, sit with people, learn about how they want to be treated. Read fines, depending on which business you are in. Read the fines on the largest banks. You're going to see what you shouldn't do. Controls, compliance. There is an enormous amount of homework to do. And again, it goes back to get the help and hire people and so on and so forth. So do your homework, try to learn what you don't know, ask and validate. And the second most effective things, I would say, across everything, whether it's biases or even if you advertise good values and good practices, how do you ensure they happen? And that's what a lot of founders like, is metrics. Whenever you have a good intention, spell it out, make sure it's understood, advertise it, but need to have regular metrics to check that it's happening. The metric, if you have something fuzzy like corporate citizenship, could be feedback. Get a sample of people, representative of your company, regularly. How are you? How do you feel? When is your next promotion? What do you feel is the hurdle? What do you think? Do it anonymously. So metrics around even the fuzziest of intention and practices is, in my view, a way to keep biases from developing too quickly or too much. And talk to your clients. Like whomever pays you, they'll tell you the truth. Anybody else who is paid by you, you need to discount with a massive pinch of salt. Whomever pays you and gets your business alive, sit with them and listen.
That's great, Jules. I'm going to bring one more comment from the audience here. And superb, spectacular success story, Jules. A true display of servant leadership by you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And with that, thank you so much for your presentation. It was insightful and inspiring to many, I'm sure.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. An absolute pleasure. And I believe it is my turn now to introduce the next speaker.
Sure, you or Tracy, that's fine.
Oh, sorry, Tracy. Tracy, go ahead.
No, you go, Jill, you go.
All right.
Hold on, let me remove David from the stream and add this to the stream. There you go, Tracy. Go ahead. Oh, you're muted.
So Nadia is the founder and CEO of award-winning startup Nano Naras and women entrepreneurs in healthcare and tech. She's also tech innovation certified and helps organizations grow by bringing ideas into practice and expanding innovation in new markets. And I can certainly be a testament for that. She's amazing for that. What sets her apart is her combined academic and business experience. With over 15 years, she's led research that resulted in 34 research papers. And Nadia helps women entrepreneurs in healthcare and tech become confident leaders and grow their business. So over to you, Nadia. We're excited to hear you speak.
Thank you, Tracy. And I'm so happy to be here with you all, inspired with all the speakers, and ready to share some entrepreneurial wisdom with you all. The idea here is to share what I've learned and why entrepreneurs should have an edge in the beginning of the fourth industrial revolution, that is AI. I will go over few things that I saw were secret that needs to be busted in entrepreneurship. Some of what I learned observing and studying successful entrepreneurs and what makes them stand out compared to the others. As Jill's mentioned, only 4% of businesses will exist within 5 years of their inception. And later on, I will share some nuggets, golden nuggets, how AI can help you as an entrepreneur to be at the edge, giving you that edge so you can move forward without being overwhelmed. Because the key is that entrepreneurship is a marathon. It is not a sprint. And balancing out, finding out what's important and what you should be focused on as a founder, as an entrepreneur, with the long term in mind is key. So that's my goal for this session here. First of all, I'm Dr. Nadia Boutaoui, very proud mom, wife, soccer mom, and lifelong learner. So as you can see, I have my plate full, as well as starting a couple companies. I am committed to moving technologies to the market. That's my North Star. Because I believe that breakthrough technologies, they don't help the people they are intended to help if they stay behind closed doors in a lab or if they don't make it to the market. And all I do is with that in mind. How do we move these technologies so we can make the impact, the difference in the world. First of all, I'm an engineer in agriculture, and then I did a PhD in plant genetics at the University of Reading in the UK, and engineering at the Harrach in Algiers. Kudos to all Algerians, and Eid Mubarak to you all. Today is special, very special day. After that, I moved with my family to the US, and I had the privilege of working in Ivy League places in cutting edge technologies. That resulted in me being promoted within less than 6 months to epigenetic specialist at Harvard Medical School. We had quite high impact papers while I was directing a genetics lab. I learned firsthand the power of teams. And both Jills and Tracy, they tapped into, if you build the right team, if you work within the right environment, you can amplify your impact. And I believe the entrepreneurs, they should be thinking of that too on their journey. While running a genetics lab, doing genetics on asthma and what makes some kids more susceptible to getting asthma compared to others, two of my own kids had asthma. And I saw firsthand the lack of drugs to treat the disease. The impact not only on them and their quality of life, but on me as their caregiver. So this got me interested in how do we move these discoveries that get published in high impact journals to help the people that need it the most, my own kid. So I got on the path to do what's called translation science. I did tech innovation and entrepreneurship in the business school. It wasn't enough for me. It was barely scratching the surface. So in late 2018, I did an executive MBA in healthcare, and the pandemic hit. So there I am, 4 kids, part-time job, and a full-time executive MBA. So I know a thing or two about juggling. Thinking about that video you shared, David, of using both hands and feet to juggle all things, and knowing which ball to drop because you know it's going to bounce back. And that skill set is critical in terms of trying to find, I don't think there is a work-life balance. We strive to have work-life harmony and being present in that particular moment that you're at. You get so good at maximizing your time to be good at present, because when I'm in the lab, I'm in lab mode because I have systems in place that will take care of the others things in my life. I have networks that can help me, that lift me up. And that's important for entrepreneurs too. Think about building and nurturing the network that can lift you up through your ups and downs on your journey. My project NanoNurse led to Startup NanoNurse. It was an award-winning company. We had a few awards, including first place in Michigan Can Life Sciences recently. Not only that, but I'm an award-winning leader with top thought leaders on LinkedIn for 2022. My community work was recognized by being the Woman of the Year by the Society of Foreign Consuls this year in New York City. What I saw and what drives me is the impact comes from action. All entrepreneurs want to make a difference in the world. They take risk, calculated risk. However, they need to move from the idea stage to take action so that they make that difference they strive to. I will share 3 secrets with you that I learned throughout my career. You don't need more information. We are actually in an information overload society. We are bombarded with information from all different angles. What we need as an entrepreneur is find the right information in the right sequence to get us results fast. So it's not about how much information you have. It's about the right information in the right sequence process to get you results. The second secret that I found is that you can actually make more money doing less, but consistently. And the key is the consistency. It's one of these things that is easy, but yet the hardest to keep going over time. And that's where your why comes in, where you have your why and you know that showing up, it's a stepping stone towards your big why, towards that impact. And it's not measured in weeks or months, it's in years. And be comfortable with putting in the hours to show up, even on days you don't feel like it. So find out what is that one thing that is the 4% or the 10% that can bring you closer to your goal. And do that and ignore the the dis- the distractions, the shiny objects that are tempting to go after, but they're gonna detract you from your big goal. And why is that important? Because overwhelm is the number one reason why people don't get results. So find what is your zone of genius. Find that one thing that brings the most value towards your target audience, that brings you closer to your goal, and focus on that and do it very well. The third one is building personal brands. It will help you attract more business. You move from chasing people to attracting people because you're going to position yourself as a thought leader in your field. You position yourself as the guide who can help your target audience solve their problems. And that's what business is all about. We're trying to solve a problem that is painful enough that people are willing to pay for. And all the other jargon around that, the core is that finding that problem, finding that niche that is, it's painful enough for them that they're willing to pay for somebody to solve that. And growing your brand is one of these secrets that's going to position you into the guide who can help them solve those problems. So in doing so, and David here showed beautifully how you can use the largest database in the world, LinkedIn, to position yourself as a thought leader so you can solve the problems for your target audience. I've analyzed many successful entrepreneurs, and here's what I noticed. They have three traits that set them apart from others. They grow their mindset. They are lifelong learners. One peak for them is the bottom of the next mountain. They're always on that growth journey, seeking to be better, seeking to have bigger impact, and so on. They have the ability to keep it simple. They take the complex and make it simpler, not only to follow, but to train others so they can do it too. And more importantly, they don't go it alone. They find people that complement their skill set. They find communities that align with their vision, that align with their mission, and that makes them enjoy the journey. They think about the journey as opposed to the end goal, and they lift others along the way with them. And that's what amplifies their impact. They are really skilled in partnering with others, in collaborating with others, in giving back to people that are in earlier chapters. So this takes me to, I will go over a few essentials that I think are important for entrepreneurs, including teams. When they're building teams, they look for the founder market fit. In fact, the founder market fit is the number one criteria the largest incubators and accelerators in the world, the Y Combinator, look for, because it enables effective decision making, it enhances problem solving, and it increases the chances for creating a product that meets the market needs. And why is that important? Because the number two reason why startups failed, actually 35% of startups, they fail because there is no need for their product or service. So think about that. If you have market, the founder market or team market fit, you are increasing your chances of finding that product market fit and increases your chances of success. The second one that I see is Developing the products that people want. As I mentioned, the number 2 reason why companies fail is no market need. And that's where customer discovery comes in. When you're talking to your customers, when you're interviewing your target, not only end users, but players within the ecosystem that your product or service will be deployed, it's very, very beneficial at de-risking your go-to market and develop and creating, and it will increase your chance to create something that people want. There is a process to customer discovery, and it's so important because it gives you insights how to develop things that actually solve the real problem for your target audience. First step, you assume your hypothesis. You state your hypothesis and you test it with interviews. And the key for those interviews is that you're not selling. It's a 360 that allows you to determine what the actual problems are that your target audience or stakeholders are experiencing. Based on that, you can develop a product and then verify with that initial set of customers whether it solves their problem or not. This is so important that the National Institute of Health here in the US, they give up to $50,000 to tech companies to perform that exercise to interview up to 100 people before they even develop their MVP, their minimal viable product. In fact, the companies that focus on the problem first design thinking, they outperform the S&P 500 by 200% over a period of 10 years. The companies that dial in on the problem they're solving and they hone in on the value proposition for the problem instead of the solution, they outperform others. So it is critical to take time to define the problem you're trying to solve. The next is sales. Sales is the lifeblood of a business. And sales skills are crucial for founders too, because before you get a sales team in place, you are the salesperson. You are selling your ideas, you're selling your vision, you're selling your mission to recruit talent. You're pitching to investors or grants, the federal government to get non-dilutive funding. And you also pitch to potential partners so they can work with you. And this is why I think developing your public speaking skills, your communication skills as a founder or a CEO are critical for your success. And learning how to sell not only your product, to sell your ideas, your vision, your mission, motivate your team are all really powerful skill sets to have. So master your sales because it is the lifeblood of your business. Now, networking for growth. When you network, think strategically when you're networking because think of where you're going. Who do you want to be like in the coming 5 years? And what seeds do you need to sow right now and nurture before you need it? So in terms of, let's say you are in pre-seed stage, chances are you're going to need investment at some point, or you need strategic advisors or strategic partners. Look for those people and nurture those networks because it will allow you to access resources, to gain insights from industry experts, as well as help you form those strategic alliances that can drive business growth. The key is to get those networks in place and lead with the intention to serve. Lead with the long term in mind instead of short term gains. And I think that's key to forging those relationships and give because giving works. It really does. Communication. We've tapped into how important it is to communicate with your team, to communicate effectively, to build trust with your partners, trust with your team, trust with your co-founders. It enables seamless collaboration because most of conflict comes from miscommunication when there is that gray zone that could have been, that left some room for interpretation. It helps you make sure that you have alignment in expectations with your team, with your partners, and so on. And it allows for fostering those strong relationships that are built upon trust. So communication is really critical if you are an entrepreneur. More importantly, and that was a myth busting uh, number that I did in one of my posts, is well-being. And it's very, very important to keep in mind your well-being so you can avoid burnout. It's so easy to go that extra mile, that extra hour, do that extra, send that extra email, that extra lead, generation, and so on. Keep in mind, find a way to balance both your work and your personal life. Think of entrepreneurship as a marathon, not a sprint. Of course, we all have those sprints in between to get things done, but learn to listen to your internal clock. When your body needs to recharge, to unplug, practice self-care, and maintain your mental health and physical well-being. Because if you are in an airplane and there is, turbulence, they say put your oxygen mask on before you put it on somebody else. The same thing. Take care of yourself before you take care of everybody else around you. I say that especially for mothers. My kids call me the little red caboose because I'm always last. There was this story that we read about a train, and there is a red caboose at the back, and he always comes last. He was a little upset that nobody waves at him when they pass the kids in the parks. And my kids said to me, Mama, you are the little red caboose. I'm like, why is that? They said, you always come last. So, and that really hit me. We need to prioritize ourselves because we can take better care of others when we take care of ourselves. Learn how to set boundaries, to say no. And if you need it, it's okay to seek support. Seek support from your, mentors or close friends or even therapy. There is no shame in seeking support if you need it. Don't stay until like you're completely burned out. And before I move to the next part where I've covered some of what I think is important for entrepreneurs to be successful, is what can give the entrepreneurs nowadays an edge. And we cannot talk about, an edge in entrepreneurship or business without talking about AI. I really believe that AI will not replace somebody, but someone who masters or who knows how to use it will. If you're a job seeker and you know how to leverage that, it's going to give you a competitive edge. If you are a solopreneur and you learn how to use that, it's going to compact time and free up more time for you to do more activities that bring more value to your business as opposed to routine activities. If you are struggling with that work-life balance, imagine how much time you can save to do more of what you love. I think this is one thing that can give you an edge as an entrepreneur. In fact, 84% of C-suite executives, they believe that AI will help them achieve their growth goals. 84%. Not only that, but the growth of this field and industry is expected to grow at an average of 40.2% every year from 21 through 28. So think of how fast that is. Now is a good time to learn how to leverage this for your business. Now, here are some examples of how, in the current economic environment, and yesterday was the UN, the United Nations Small and Medium Enterprise Day. When we think entrepreneurship, we think of unicorns. We think of, the advertised, few. But in reality, the backbone of economies across the globe is the small and the medium enterprises. And right now, many of them, they feel overwhelmed with how much information there is out there. They worry about their revenue generation. They worry about their next client. They struggle to stay competitive. They're worried, is AI going to replace me? Is my business going to vanish because of these new technologies? So they're actively looking for solutions to grow their business and to stay competitive. Here are a few examples on how artificial intelligence can help you as an entrepreneur or a business owner, a coach or a consultant. It can help you grow your brand. It will facilitate lead generation and sales for you because you're going to create content that speaks to your customer's pain point, that is so tailored to what they experience. It will help you position yourself as a thought leader, as a guide that can help them solve their problems. One of my favorite frameworks in terms of storytelling for business is by a guy called, I have his book right here. It's Donald Miller, and he has How to Grow Your Small Business, and he goes over how you can use storytelling to drive more revenue. He has 7 steps in his process. The first thing is you are not the hero, no matter how expert you are. The hero in the story is your target customer, is the person you're trying to help, who is experiencing a problem, and you are their guide who's going to give them a plan that's easy to implement, a guide that can enlighten them on how they can the future can be, or if they take action, or not if they don't. That framework and using AI to tailor your messaging to your target audience is very powerful in increasing your lead generation, in increasing your conversions, in increasing your sales. Also, targeted marketing. When you know which segment you're helping, it's not a solution fits all. You can target your marketing campaigns based on different segments. You can create content that speaks to that particular segment. And that helps you position yourself as the guide who can help them, increasing your chances of sales and leads and sales. Customer service is another powerful application for AI. You can do what's called sentiment analysis based on feedbacks or reviews from customers online. You can do the same for your competitors and then find the gaps that can give you that differentiator to develop something that can solve those problems that are not solved yet. It will help you identify pain points and areas of improvement. If you have a service, you can enhance the customer support and personalize the experience. And I believe that customers nowadays, they want that personalization. They want products and services based on their interests, based on the chapter they're at, not a solution fits all. That doesn't work anymore. Supply chain is another huge plus for using AI in anticipating market trends, to predict the prices, to optimize inventory management. If you have a product based business and you have an inventory that's taking up space, it's going to cost you money. So, having that anticipation, those prediction, how you can move to almost a just in time so you don't have to have excess inventory will save you time and increase your profit. It can help you streamline operations and automate repetitive tasks so you can focus on the high value items that you can do. And that's especially important if you have a small team or if you are a solopreneur, consultant, or a coach. Briefly, entrepreneurship is living a few years of your life like most people want, so that you can spend the rest of your life like most people can't. I have few more examples to share on how AI and those language models can help you. I don't know if I have time for this. Give me a thumbs up from either the audience or my speakers here. So here I'm going to share a couple. I think this will be of value for people so they can implement at least some of this. So I mentioned that AI can help you create content that speaks to your ideal customers. Here is an example, a simple prompt. And by prompt, for those who are not familiar with that, is how you talk to those language models. It's referred to as prompt. There are three components to that. And this is the engineer in me. I kind of go to the goal and reverse engineer into smaller steps that are actionable. So there are three components. You can ask these models to act as something and define the role. You ask it to create a task, and then you specify the task. And you also clarify the format, the output you want from that prompt. In this example here, it is for creating a social media post on LinkedIn. So I'm gonna, I have here, comes with the territory. Kids wanted my attention, a 6-year-old, but yeah. So I'm gonna make this bigger here so you can see it better. So in this example, it says, act as an experienced social media copywriter. The goal is to create a captivating LinkedIn post that generate high engagement from entrepreneurs, founders in a language that is suitable for general audience at the 7th grade level. The post should include the top 3 questions on mind of entrepreneurs and founders and answers under each question. So that is the task. The key here that I want to iterate when you use these AI models is that you are the expert. You are the driver. You are the pilot, the one steering the conversation. So you put garbage in, you get garbage out. The more specific, and you know what the goals is, and you go back and you reverse engineer, you get better output. The format, which is the third component, is a table to include a catchy hook, information for the body of the content, compelling call to action, and a bonus is a suggested image to support the post. So you see there are act as, very specific task, and specific format. And here is the output. And I can do that for 3, I can do that for 10, I can do that for 20. Here is the output. So in one table, I had three rows, each one with one social media post that has a hook, the body, the call to action, and an image to support the post. You can take it even further. On Canva, you can automate creation of the content with what's called bulk create. If you want to take it even further, you can create scripts for videos and suggested, background music, background image to support the video creation. So you see, it is very powerful to streamline content creation. The key, this is a draft. You need to put in your own voice, to weave in your own stories, to weave in your own observations. Sometimes I always check. Always do trust and verify. When it comes to these language models, after using them for a while, they have what's called hallucinations, and it may give you not so valid information. So you are the expert, you're the driver. Another example, as I mentioned, you can create scripts for videos. For people out there doing market research or doing some sort of research, you can use AI to summarize papers, to summarize reports. So you don't have to go through a 100-page report. If there are multiple reports, you can look for trends that are common in between or things that are different in between, saving you time. So in this example, I'll provide you with the text of an article, analyze the text and summarize it into a table with the following columns: a header, an application, and a description. And here's an example. This was, I think, a report from about AI in drug development, and it gave me all the applications in a very digestible, easy to follow. And I have the original to double check. So it's powerful when you are starting with something that you already provided to those AI tools, and it saves you time in terms of creating processes, creating step-by-steps, SOPs, and so on. So I hope this gave you a flavor on how AI can give you that competitive edge in your business, whether you're a small business owner, whether you're a consultant, a coach, or even a more established entrepreneur. Again, I'm Dr. Nadia Boutaoui, and I do help women entrepreneurs in healthcare and tech to grow, to gain clarity, and to grow their businesses. So feel free to contact me if you have any questions. And with that, I am going to take any questions. I can bring my fellow speakers on stage. And if you have any questions, feel free so we can have.
Brilliant. Nadia, thank you very, very, very much for such a broad landscape of really what matters. What I absolutely loved is the relevance of all these items, is the low-hanging fruit aspect of everything you mentioned. I mean, something as meaty as the false start, not having the right product, doing market research, and easy solution. Talking about self-care, obviously, AI is very scary, is very frightening, yet it's so easily accessible and powerful. And I really love the way you present that. So here's a question for you: is how should a founder that watches this and is very interested in doing the right thing, where should they get help? How should they prioritize a bit their time? We're talking about, for example, presentation skills, right? Is there things they should do during the market research and building of the MVP? Or what's your experience of it?
In terms of the MVP,
In terms of founders trying to prioritize their training and all you've mentioned they should look at to maximize the chance of their business?
That's a great question. I've spent quite a lot of time trying to define what should I focus on what stage of my business. And I've developed what's called the success path for entrepreneurs. So what you focus on if you are in the idea stage or pre-MVP would be different from if you have a revenue and you want to grow, another line of a revenue or your team. So it really depends on, I would start with define what stage of business you're at. Then what are the key milestones that you need to reach within a time frame? And then reverse engineer from there, what are the actions I need to take to get to that stage? Let's take the example of funding, for instance. You don't need to think about Series C or Series B if you are pre-seed. These are almost like island hopping. You need to find a way to hop from that one first island of pre-seed stage to the next seed stage, and then go back and reverse engineer what are the steps that I need to take to hit those milestones within like 6 months or 12 months or what have you, and focus only on that. Because the rest, it will come, but you're going to be wasting your energy and your focus if you are keep that North Star, that 5-year goal, but keep all your energy on those small steps and do them consistently. I hope that helps.
That's brilliant. Makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
I'd love to ask you a bit more about AI, Nadia. I know when you and you've helped me with it, and it's just been absolutely incredible. And I'd love you just to sort of talk to the audience a little bit more about what impact AI can have on all areas of your business. And because what I've seen is it's just been transformational, time saving, headspace saving. And I'd just love you to bring that to life a little bit more.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a great question. I think when it comes to AI and tools in general, because technology evolves so fast. Today's AI, 2 years ago it was blockchain, now it's AI, tomorrow it's going to be something else. The key is to find what is the core, what are the foundations in business that you need to focus on. And then those are tools that can help you reach those goals. They're not the pillars themselves. So, for example, when I mentioned, creating content that can speak to problems that your target audience faces, you can, for instance, create a lead magnet that you can give for free in exchange for emails and build your email list. And we know that email list has, even with the 25% open rate, is better than the 5% that the social media shows to your audience when you create content. So right there, you 5x your reach, your conversion by building those lead magnets that speak to their problems. You can then the same thing. You can repurpose it for social media content in different forms, whether it's carousel or text post or video that can build that know, like, and trust before people buy from you. I hope that helps.
Yes, it does. And actually, I was just going to share, just linking from what Jill said as well. I was sort of hearing someone talk about how you can use Chat GPT to really help in terms of building a pitch deck and in terms of helping with the with the presentation that you do. And again, it's not about what it gives you is going to be the final solution, but it can certainly help you save a lot of time. And then the key, as we've always said, Nadia, is adding that personal touch, is validating and checking. But I think that the impact of it is amazing.
Yeah. And I think with that comes the ethical use too. So keeping in mind that it's using what's already out there on the internet. So if there are biases, it's going to be amplified. If there is false information, it may be amplified. That's why verifying whatever output you get and be the driver rather than taking it as is.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely. David, where do you see AI in your line of work?
Well, I mean, I have had a few people tell me they've attempted to create a resume but here there's still a lot of strategy involved. So I think I'll be safe for a little while. But I did learn the other day that you can create PowerPoint, using ChatGPT. So again, I use combination between that and Bing's version to get ideas, to get inspiration. Because yes, it's got to sound like it's coming from you, but we need to embrace AI and using this technology again. I think, like Tracy said, it's again, we collect that, but then we put our own little spin on it. Because if I create a post using AI, it's not going to sound like it's coming from me just yet, not until it can read my mind. But we need to finesse it a little bit, and that's not cheating because we're constantly getting inspiration. I would like to think that some of us come up with unique ideas, but a lot of times we're getting that idea from somebody else and putting our own spin on it. So that's what this technology can really do. But again, I'd caution everybody to again make sure it's still coming from your voice, your position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Great observation there, and I think also when it comes to learning about these technologies, you can do it yourself, and it's okay. A lot of people, when they are entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, they have the ability to get information. The thing is, ask yourself, what is the value time, the time value of my time, and then you can decide whether you do it yourself, whether you do it with somebody or one-on-one coach. And again, I myself am a big proponent of coaching, and I've had coaches myself in public speaking, and I'm not ashamed of it, in public speaking, in branding, and a few more areas. And that's the thing with entrepreneurs. they have a growth mindset, and they know to get to the next level, chances are there is one area that you need to grow to get to that person you want to be. So, and that's, I think it's an important thing to have that growth mindset to develop your leadership skills. And many people, they are technical founders and they find themselves leading teams and they don't know how to do it. And you see that gap between their technical skills and their leadership skills, and they struggle. So I know both Tracy, you tapped into beautifully into the mindset, not rewiring, but upgrading your mindset. And Jill's, you tapped into the foundations of leadership that we need, to lead teams, to be very, to grow and lead high performing teams. David, you beautifully showed us how we can leverage the largest professional database in the world, which I think is very underused. I'm not sure how many people are creating content percentage-wise on LinkedIn, David.
Oh, well, recent figures, maybe 1.7% of all LinkedIn users are active. So, what percentage of those people, right, are posting daily or, weekly or whatever. So it is small. So that is why LinkedIn is still LinkedIn should have billions of users. It really should, billions. And it will, sometime soon. But that's why showing up on LinkedIn is one of the easiest ways to gain traction. I mean, some of those people that have been doing this, on LinkedIn since its infancy and posting and engaging, those are the people that have millions of followers only because there weren't that many people, leveraging the platform.
Yeah. Tracy, you had a comment?
No, not at all. I just completely agree. I think it's just the most phenomenal tool. And I think also it's the power of the network. And I think the Founder Sunday group is just such a beautiful example of meeting like-minded people and seeing people that are really in the spirit of adding value as well.
Yeah.
So, I'd encourage people to use it.
If I may I ask each one of you as a closing to 3 takeaways for our audience in your respective fields. David, do you want to go first?
Sure.
For our viewers.
Yeah, I think 3 takeaways is, I heard something about a mission statement, right? And maybe a personal, mission statement. I totally understand that. And, coaches hire coaches. So again, we have to open up that wallet a little bit in order to get traction sooner. Sure, we can struggle and do some things on our own. We can't be a subject matter expert about everything. And then hopefully everybody learned a little bit about how to leverage LinkedIn like that free database. And again, I can even go more in depth than that, but just the importance of that, because not everybody's leveraging it that way. And Nadia, thank you for inviting us on our little event today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Jills?
Nobla, thank you so much indeed. 3 takeaways for me would be: number 1, people are your greatest resource as an entrepreneur, as a business, even as an individual in your network. Number 2, management and leadership. I've played with both words because one's a mindset, the other one is a function and a role. Should be learned and can be learned. And number 3, get help. That would be that. And with that, thanking every single one of you. It's been an honor to be in your presence and to learn from you, and very fun.
Absolutely. Tracy?
Thank you. It's been an amazing event. There are so many takeaways. I think for me, it's really staying in that growth mindset and really realizing that it starts with you and you have the ability to become that best version of yourself and to have that amazing ripple effect. I loved what Jill talked about in terms of respect, really respecting your team and providing that psychological safety. That's something that I agree with 100%. And I think it can have such an exponential impact when you create that right culture. And then Nadia, always AI. I'm a big fan of really understanding and seeing how we can leverage it, and really seeing how that can help us really create that impact that we all want to create. And I'd like to thank you all, but particularly you, Nadia. You put so much hard work, and honestly, the way you've done it has been impressive and just such a pleasure to be part of. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, all my takeaways. Oh my goodness. I think the entrepreneurs are not after money, they're after impact. And that's one big misconception. When you have that impact in place, have the right mindset, surround yourself with the right team, because your needs will change as you evolve. It's not what you need in your earlier journey will be different when you're growing, will be different when you are, either exiting or acquiring other companies. So have that flexibility, that mindset, that coachability, and more importantly, enjoy the journey because life is short. You might as well enjoy it. Find people that you align in values and vision with, and learn to protect your mental health, your physical health. And this way, you're in it for the long run because you can't help others until you help yourself. And with that, I'm going to put some of I would like to thank all the speakers. They made it so easy for me to organize this. This spanned from one organic conversation, and within less than a couple hours, 5 leaders that I aspire to be like accepted to be on this. And you guys made it easy because we aligned in our mission to help others to give back. And for that, I thank you. And before we close, we have 3 more minutes. So I'm going to bring a couple comments from the audience here. LinkedIn user. Many thanks to all for extremely distinguished panel and servant leaders. Jills, Dahan, Dr. Nadia Batawi, David Alto, and Tracy Clark for the very great insights shared. Lots of superb learning. Truly appreciated. Kind regards, Anuradha. Thank you. We have one comment here from Travis Delaney. Very informative, Nadia. Thank you for the AI prompt insights. And let me see some more here. We have one question here. How can you continue on this marathon course, startup, without losing the courage? And what helps you stay put? That's where and please feel free, Tracy and Jills or David to contribute to this one. I think having your big why helps you show up even on days you don't feel like it. Having a network, a supportive network that you can lean on when you need it helps a lot. Having systems in place that even if you are not, for some reason, cannot show up, others can fill in the blank. Delegating, having the team, growing your team. Teams are very important. So I think having that big why and then systems and teams and networks in place will help you stay the course. Do you have any additions, Tracy or Jill?
Yes, I agree with everything you've said, especially starting with the why. I also think that there's an element of self-compassion and self-love in this, because it can be a difficult journey, and it's being gentle on yourself and getting the support and asking for the support that you need. I think that's really important.
Jills?
Yeah, that's a perfect point. And I think in addition to that, I would say in the very question is 50% of the answer. Too many founders think it's a quick thing, it's a quick win. They have an idea in their basement and it's going to take over the world. Realizing and being told it's a marathon and many times you will want to give up. It helps founders, first of all, sit down and says, am I ready for this? Can I be without a salary for a year or for 2 years? What's going to be my profile? Can I dedicate that if I don't get a result within 6 months, a year, or 2 years? If you get a positive surprise, amazing. If you don't, at least you open your eyes and then you sign up to something you know and then get help for sure. Brilliant question.
Awesome. David?
All right. So I hate to break this, but you're going to have more bad days than good.
Yeah.
So celebrate your wins, celebrate them with anybody and everybody, yourself, your dog, anybody, right? Celebrate your wins, but move on from yesterday's losses. Move on quick. They're yesterday. Learn from them, move quickly, and hold on, because yeah, it's a bumpy ride, but worth it.
That is awesome. Thank you everyone for your time. Truly, it's been an honor organizing this with you all, and thanks for your wisdom, for your insights, and yeah. Any last minute goodbyes to our audience?
Thank you, Nadia. To audience, follow Nadia. And thank you very, very much for your work and your insight. That's my advice for the end.
Absolutely. And you can go ahead, check out all the speakers on LinkedIn, follow and connect with them. And in most cases, they will have a featured section if you'd like to get in touch with them. That's where you find the best way to get their help. And with that, thank you so much for your time, and God bless you, and Eid Mubarak to all.
Eid Mubarak to you, Nadia.
Thank you. Enjoy.